Hi guys, my name is Pablo Contriciani. I am a visual artist and an art instructor, originally from Argentina, living and working in Miami. I'm going to have, in few moments, a conversation with other artist colleague, Edouard Duval Carrie. He's one of the most important artists in Miami, a strong influence in our art community. Edouard is originally from Haiti. He has currently a solo show at the Vast Museum of Arts. We're going to talk about his creative artist process, how he produces the work, why, what's the meaning behind it, what inspired him. The goal of this conversation is for you to have a better understanding of Edouard's work. I'm gonna call Edouard. Please be patient until I reach him. And you can write also questions in the chat. And I'm gonna read them when we finish our dialogue and Edouard is going to answer you. Just be patient one moment. Okay, 1 second. I don't see Edouard yet. Just give me a few moments until I reach Edouard.
All right.
Hi, Edouard.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. I don't know how we're doing this, but it looks good.
You know, I was thinking your studio is less than a block from mine.
You could have walked over, please. Anyways, we have to do it like that. Maybe I can hold it, no?
Well, it's good to have you here.
Yeah.
And most of the audience know you, but I am going to start asking questions like somebody doesn't know you.
All right.
Where are you from?
I'm originally.
When did you come to Miami?
Well, that's a long time ago. I'm from Haiti originally, and I came to Miami probably. You want me to?
Yeah, I'll just hold it. It's better.
You're better like that? All right.
Yes.
That's much better. I've been here, more than 25 years. Originally from Haiti. My parents moved from Haiti during the hard period with the Duvaliers. We went to Puerto Rico, and I've been going back and forth to Haiti since. I came not really from Haiti here. I was living in Paris, and I decided to come to Miami to check it out, and I really liked it, and I stayed here. So I've been here a long time. Yes.
Edouard, how did you get into the arts?
It seems that I've always been interested, at least in it. And to tell you frankly, when I was very young, I loved Haitian art, and I used to frequent very frequently the Centre d'Art, which is in Port-au-Prince. And I always liked stuff there. And one day I asked my mother to buy me something. She did buy one, and she said she would never buy me anything else. So I said, you mean I'll have to start doing it myself? So that's the way I guess I started. I was probably, like in 10 or 12.
Wow, so young. You took the decision to be an artist so young.
It was not really a decision to become an artist. It was a decision to I really liked art, and I wanted to have it around. So she did, indulge me, but she said that it would be the last time that she would do so. And I decided to frequent the Centre d'Art because that piece that I still have, was purchased there. eons ago, and I really liked the artists that were there, and I really got involved at a certain point. When I moved out, to tell you frankly, I'd never studied art. I mean, I was always interested, but I'm an urban geographer by profession. I mean, that I never really professed, to tell you frankly. I never really, worked. I mean, I did have a construction company. That's about as close as I came to profess whatever I studied, which was urban planning and urban geography.
Edouard, why you are a multimedia artist? You use resin in your pieces, you do installations. Why you became a multimedia artist?
Because I just love the métier. I mean, being an artist to me is like to learn how to do it and to try everything possible and imaginable to incorporate or to try to do it. I was always interested. Yes, I'm interested in Haitian art and stuff like that, but I'm also very interested in materials. And at one point, the French government gave me a scholarship to go to Paris, and I was at the Beaux-Arts. And there, I mean, there was like a field, and there was a professors teaching what they called a new mediums. So I immediately joined those kind of professors and learned how to make mold out of resin, of course, using silicones left and right. And the digital age had not really reached Paris back then. But it was, I mean, I started doing some videos and stuff like that as well.
Edouard, I see in your work a lot of characters that who are them? They represent something. There is a symbolism behind them. For example, you are going to explain, and I am going to show some of the things I have here in my computer, just to.
Okay. Well, I mean, at the beginnings, I mean, as I said, I left Haiti and lived in Puerto Rico for, I think, 5 or 6 years. And then my parents decided to return home. And when I did return to Haiti, it was like a new world to me because, I mean, when you're a kid, you grow up. I mean, you're not really conscious of everything that's happening around you. But when I returned, I was in my teens. I mean, it was a serious shock. So I came back, I was in 9th or 10th grade. And starting to get interested in all types of things. And one thing that really fascinated me were the religious and the very, I mean, it was very interesting because it was so different, I mean, from whatever I had confronted before. Yes, I've been to church, I've been to this, I mean, but suddenly, like I could go to voodoo temples and other things like that. And that was really quite fascinating because it was very different from what I had. I went to Catholic school. I mean, was baptized, had my first communion, I confessed and everything. But when I got to Haiti, I realized that there was like this whole new world offered to me, and I was very curious. And especially when I started to visit with a local artist, I mean, especially from the first generation. I mean, these artists were very, very devoted to the voodoo cult, and they were, I mean, very much involved in it. And the works that I really that I gravitated towards were from these kind of artists that had a very deep knowledge of, I mean, everything voodoo, everything about Haiti. And I became very interested, just like they were probably, trying to figure out what it was, trying to create a world of it. I mean, trying to give it life, because basically yes, there are lots of stories about them, but really nobody really embarked on portraying them systematically. And that's what I found interesting at the beginning. So I created a cast of characters using the descriptions of voodoo spirits and voodoo gods and others, and they became cast of characters that I've involved. And my story has been telling not only their story, the story of Haiti, the story of migration, the story of Black people, the story of Africa. So, I mean, like from one little interest, I mean, there was so much that opened to me when I started doing that kind of research and which brought me, like to travel to France, to Africa, and to various parts of the Americas. And I realized that, there is a big influence of the Black world in my, not only in my life in Haiti, but elsewhere in all of the Americas, to tell you frankly. And it's hold and behold, today we have, like Black Lives Matter. I think really my thing has been Black History Matters. So to me, that's what is the crux of the matter. I mean, yes, there is a Black Lives, but there is a history to it that probably has not been told properly, or has been erased, or has not been documented. And that's, to me, is very important. And that's what I've been trying to do. And I accompany all of this because Africa did contribute so much to the New World. They literally built it. Anyways.
Edouard, which artists have an influence in your work? Which other artists influencing your work?
Everybody influenced. I mean, yes, you would. I mean, it's a bit difficult to say that, but I've been fascinated by. You're talking about contemporary artists. You're talking about what exactly? Because really, if you see my library, there's like sections. From, I have quite an extensive library. Plus, I do consult, and I've been fortunate enough to go to serious libraries to consult. Like either on art of the Americas, out of Europe, out of Asia, out of Africa, of Papua New, like oceanic art. I mean, everything interests me. And sometimes, I find inspiration from how people, and I'm always fascinated by what's produced by people. But, this is, to me, it's like fascinating. Why an artist, or why artists do this, or why in a culture certain things are prevalent, certain things are put in, for example, in the contemporary world, the movements, the interest that like certain things have given. It's a big world out there, and I'm interested, and I try to find out. And sometimes, like by looking at it so intensely, it does influence me. To tell you which ones, or what, I'm trying, and also I do research, and as you know, I'm a curator as well. So I'm always looking at, for example, yes, I've decided that the Caribbean is of great interest to me. This whole Caribbean Sea and this whole middle of these two hemispheres, what's happening there, and the history between all of these places, to me, it's fascinating. It's where the old world, Europe met America, America met Africa, and the people, the indigenous people. So it's really a fascinating place. It was first contact, to tell you frankly, especially in questions of Haiti. First contact was there. So there's a lot of history there. At that level, and all of these interest me, and I try to really either look at it or try to, portray it in my work. And so many things comes from that. It's incredible. Yes, artists do whatever they want, or they try to be. But me, I'm interested in everything. So, and today I was like, I'm visiting with artists at the Bake House, and I was quite fascinated to see what was going on there. And it's very interesting to see. That is, first of all, it's like the most human and the most incredible things humans can do. Yes, they can do a million things, but they can create worlds with it.
Edouard, tell the person that is having the I don't know if it's an iPhone or an iPad, that put the volume to the maximum because it's a little low.
Okay.
The volume.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, now it's better.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Thank you. Edouard, let's talk about your process of work. Like, for example, you have a piece behind you. How did you start? You have an idea, you have an image, you sketch. How did you start a piece?
Well, I've always, where did it come from, this glitter thing? Yes, when I was very young, I went to a voodoo ceremony, and the voodoo ceremony had like all these sequined voodoo flags inside the temple. And it was at night, and there was no electricity, so it was lit by candles. And I cannot tell you how magical I felt, like, I mean, it looked, like to see all these glittering things on the wall. And I've always had this behind my, like in my mind. And I started looking at that and starting to create, like this magical landscape and stuff like that. And then a project came up, which was to do something for the Perez. And I was very interested in the portrayals. I mean, the Caribbean is always producing some sort of art that is very bright and colorful because of probably the intensity of the sun and whatever. But I mean, I decided, like to see if I could invert that into, like night scenes and to see what would be best to do. So all of these paintings that I did with this glitter were supposed to be at one very specific time. I mean, like right now, maybe a bit earlier, after light rain, where the vegetation starts scintillating with the moon. So that's what I was trying to do. And when this project came up at the Perez, I decided to really visit everything that was done about the Caribbean, which was mainly done during, I mean, since the beginning, but there was a group of artists that came from the United States. I mean, it's a whole convoluted idea of mine where there, like the Monroe Doctrine said, everything for the Americas and for the Americans. Not talking strictly about the United States, but maybe that's what was in their heads. Anyways, they said, I mean, a lot of major artists, especially from the Hudson School, went down to the Caribbean and to South America and created, like an everlasting vision of those places, which are really not, like, I mean, realistic, because they were trying to sell those places to tourism and stuff like that. So it was what Miami has totally become, like a tourist destination, and selling the beaches, the sand, the colors of the sea has been, like, I mean, something, I mean, like, that is from this region. But I decided to invert it and say, like maybe, like it's not really that simple. It's not that pretty. Maybe at night, it might be even more dangerous. What's lurking behind all of this vegetation? So all kinds of things do lurk.
As a spectator in front of one of your pieces, like the piece that is behind you, I always, not only this piece, your work in general, I am amazed about exuberance. It's something that the contemplation is like a never-ending contemplation in front of one of your pieces. It's like a world to discover. And I always ask myself, how he can make that? How is something that you plan to get the viewer into the work?
It's well, yes. I mean, I mean, I'm always fascinated by like vegetation, and I find it the most, first of all, it grows in front of you, especially in the tropics where we are right now, and the profusion of it in places like Miami, some places in Haiti. I mean, it's quite extraordinary. I mean, I go to the desert or to the southwest of the United States, and it's quite beautiful in its own way. But it's like this lack of greenery, this lack of humidity, of like this ever growing. I mean, when I first got here, there was a saying that apparently the Jews say it in Miami Beach, that you plant a toothpick and it grows. So I mean, I was always fascinated, and it's literally that in this area, especially the South Florida. I mean, you plant anything and it grows. And the same thing in certain parts of Haiti. So, I mean, yeah, I just like that. And I've always used that as a prop to discuss all types of matter. Because, I mean, one thing people have to realize is that what surrounds us and, like what grows with us is, like what we are. We're no different. We're part of this planet. And if we destroy it, or if we damage it, or if we do not take care of it, I mean, it will, like come back to us. Look what's happening these days. I don't know what went wrong there, but this pandemic was serious. It's serious matter, and I hope we get through it. It's not unscathed. We are already scathed, but let's hope that it finishes soon.
Edouard, during your whole career, you can identify different periods in your work, different moments, different.
Yeah, I mean, it's very funny. Sometimes I wake up and I'm determined to change everything, you know, to take risks and
You are
to do
not the only
different
one.
things. And like I mean, I'm sure every artist does the same, you know, like I'm tired of, I mean, I've been doing it for a long time. So, I mean, sometimes I'm determined, I'm going to change, you know, like course. And I do, and I think I'm doing it. And when I look at what I've produced, and I realize that it's part of the same thing. I guess I have my language, I have my way of looking at things, or my eyes sees, you know, like what I see. And it's I mean, yes, there is change. I mean, I use different materials, but I mean, there's a consistency to the visuals that I create that are, you know, like, I mean, standard Edouard Duval Carrier. You know, I mean, that's what I do, and that's what and I've, no matter how much I try, and I certainly have tried very hard to switch and change, and you know, and in the end, even if it's really radically different material or something like that, in the end, it falls in within a discourse that I've been having either with myself or with the public or with, you know, like institutions or with knowledge or with academia, because I'm very much interested in learning and using my work to at least give a point of view. I mean, I could write, and I do write once in a while, but I mean, I feel that I have things to say, and my work tells it the best way for me. My art, I guess. Yes.
Um, Obviously, there is a message in your art, and can you define it? Can you
Well, I
briefly?
mean, really,
You can.
when I thought, I mean, okay, to me, it was at the beginning, it was the study of Vodou. Okay, that was, you know, like first phase. And then it started, but always keeping in mind that I'm a contemporary artist and that I should express myself, you know, like about what I do. But the more I learn, the more I look at things, I've had great interest in all sorts of things. And what it is in the end is trying to understand the human condition, especially the condition of blacks, because I come from a country which is black and has quite a glorious story, but a really tragic place in the same yeah, way that I can say that it's like a very fantastic place. And it's all about, you know, like I'm in the black world, and ultimately today, I'm feeling, you know, like a bit not vindicated, but at least I realized that I was not just, you know, like saying things because I just wanted, you know, like either I was very proud of, you know, like what I am or my country or where I am and stuff like that. I mean, it's a problem and it has to be discussed, and to be discussed intelligently and properly. I mean, one has to know the histories behind it, and from all parts. And that's what I'm very happy that, I mean, I sit down all day, and very much so the academia, especially, I mean, in this country, the black authors, the black academics are really doing, I mean, a serious job trying to figure out their history and trying to make sense of it themselves. And it's been, you know, like very refreshing to see that. And that they are published, that the public is very interested, because it is problematic what is happening right now, but it has been going on for a long time. You understand? Since, you know, like Columbus, you know, like set foot in the Americas, it's been a so and I mean, it's time. This is the time for reckoning, and really to revisit all of these histories that have, you know, like been, you know, like, I mean, real and sometimes, you know, like diverted. Anyways, it's something interesting which is happening right now, and I think I've always talked about it, and I feel vindicated up to a certain point.
Edward, there is a story behind your pieces.
There
Every
is
every
there is always a story. There is always something that I'm trying to say. I mean, I mean, like for the past 10 years, I know, I mean, I've been using, I mean, as collage pieces, bacterias and diatoms and microscopic things in my work, you know, I mean, because I've been, you know, I mean, I mean, pathetically afraid that, you know, like what is happening today, you know, it might happen. And here we are living through a pandemic. And people look at my work and don't even know what they're looking at. But basically, I mean, it's an amalgamation. And I've always, like been very interested in the fact that we live with these things. We're part of this planet. These viruses and these bacteria and stuff like that are there. So, like, I mean, and we do live with them. So, I mean, what is it that happens that, like what imbalances? Because they tell you that medicine is sometimes the unbalancing of these pathogens that like suddenly can attack you, and this is what's happening right now. And it's I don't know if it's what do you call it, hysteria, paranoia, whatever it is, but like we have to realize that we do live with these little bugs and critters and whatever. And I've always played with the idea that we're just as part of this planet, part of this world than they are. And if they attack us at one point, like we have to know why, So there's always a history. I mean, if it's not that kind of history, I mean, I look at the history of Haiti, or I discovered that, yes, the history of Haiti vis-a-vis the United States, since I lived in both places or lived in both places. And they're fascinating stories. The history of slavery, the history of Black people in this country, the history of Black people in the Americas. Now, I've been invited a couple of times to Africa, and I'm preparing right now this exhibit for South Africa, which I hope it will, now that, there's a glimmer of hope in the horizon. I hope that this project will not, like fade away. But I just want to compare, like the first Black Republic and the last, the last country to literally, the apartheid is a big word for slavery. And when you think that, like it's in my lifetime that the South African Blacks, like managed to liberate themselves, and I just want to make a comparison in both situations and see what. So I spent 3 months in South Africa last year, or almost 2 years ago, and I'm still working to look at that particular story, and and basically I will be creating works that talk about it.
Edouard, if you had to choose the most emblematic piece of your career, of your work, which piece did you choose and why?
I don't know. I have my assistant. How many works do you think I have? There's a lot. There's a lot. And there are periods.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite?
The point is that, like when I finish one piece, or that I'm very happy with it, I think it's like the best thing I've ever done. 3 days later, it's like forgotten because I'm in another project, or I'm trying to do something else. So, to tell you, there are some pieces that I'm very, I went to the Bass Museum this weekend, and anyways, I have a piece there that's relatively new, but I've had almost forgotten that they have pieces of mine in their collection, and they've, they took them out of storage and they've put them out. And they date from at least 15 years ago. And I was very happy to see that they're in good shape, because my work is always trying to do something new, and sometimes it breaks, or it's not, like it becomes damaged with time or whatever. But as a museum is supposed to do, they are pristine. And I was very pleased to see that. And I was very happy to revisit them. It was another moment in my life. So anybody, people should go and visit that, whomever is listening. It's really a nice show. Anyways.
Edouard, what do you think about beauty? Beauty is something that you are looking for in your work?
Well, I don't know if it's beauty, what is. It's like there is, my work, what I try to get to is some sort of magic. You understand? What really, startles you, or, combination of color. I don't know if, beauty is the eye of, it's like certain things are, might be considered beautiful, others, might consider kitsch and stuff like that. It's like expression of someone's love, beauty, And sometimes that's not what I'm really talking about. I mean, I do like the idea of love and beauty and complacency and all of these things, but my work is, I mean, I'm looking for some magic that there is. I mean, I'm startled when I see it.
Magic is a better word for
Excuse me?
magic is a better word for
Yeah,
the thing that
yeah.
you are looking for in
That's what
your
I'm
work.
looking for. Because I mean, I've been to a museum and I've been transfixed by some images, and that's, I mean, and usually they're not beautiful. They might be, you know, like telling me a story that I don't want to hear, or it might be, you know, like talking about something that is like so poignant, you know, or you know, just a reaction to just, you know, like somebody else, you know, like vision of the world or of their I mean, it can be whatever, but I mean, when it happens, it's really quite extraordinary. You know, when you see some work and you say, "Oh my God," you know, like who did that, and what does it mean? And then you know, like you start reading it, and that's when the magic happens. And I think it's very important. And it can happen with a movie, it can happen with an object, it can happen with a painting. I mean, you know, like there are things that are just startling and quite extraordinary. And that's what I'm striving for. I hope you are too.
Edward, what is your goal as an artist? What would you like to accomplish with your work?
I don't know if I really start. As I told you, I mean, my aim right at the beginning was if I cannot buy it, I mean, I should make it myself. I mean, that's the way I started, and and I haven't really revisited that because once I started, I've never stopped. So what am I supposed to accomplish? I'd like to, you know, like to become, you know, like I mean, I'm always looking and studying and doing research and stuff like that. So hopefully, I will have how would I say, a relationship with academia, which I always seek for, and by the amount of
Why, Edward?
images.
Why you look a relationship with academia? Why that is
Because
important
I mean,
to
I
you?
think that there is a lot that has not been said. I'm interested, especially when it comes to the history of the Black world. I mean, I think that there is so much material to be uncovered, so much material, and history. You know, like I mean, is usually the how would I say the history is belongs to the winners, not to the losers. And but you know, like when that happens, you know, I mean, we know enough history to know that a voice should be given to all. I mean, especially in a country like this, which is, you know, like a democracy. So we have to make sure that every voice is heard, and that's. I feel that the Black world has not had um, expressions, you know, like to the fullest of what they have done, you know. So I'm very happy that this, and I'm always uh, interested in that, you know, and I've collaborated because, you know, like in the Americas, I mean, we were a plantation economy. I mean, it started, you know, like as a plantation economy, whether it was Haiti, Brazil, I mean, the Caribbean, the United States, they were all plantation economies. I mean, and we have similar history from, you know, like from, you know, Canada all the way down to Chile. So it's a very interesting thing that we have here, and maybe we should look at it start looking at that history from our standpoint, from the Americas, because we have a history that is very peculiar. Yes, you have farmers in Europe and elsewhere, but in the Americas, it was a plantation system with, you know, like, I mean, with slaves, with this, and this was the general thing for 2 or 3 centuries, you know, like of all of the Americas. So I'm sure if we, always very interesting.
What do you think about the meaning of the arts?
Well, it's like poetry. It's like, I mean, one of the highest expression of human production. And I think there's only, you know, like your will, and your patience to make it. I mean, you don't have to raise too much capital, you know, I mean, like to produce it. I mean, yes, you know, me especially, I mean, I have to wait, I mean, I have to really find money to do my work because it's like so convoluted and so sometimes very expensive. Anyways, I mean, but it's something that you can muster from yourself. And that's what to me, I mean, and it's at the same time, you know, like when it's good and when it's like saying things, I mean, it's one of the highest expressions that exist in the world, you know, I mean, for humankind.
Okay. Um, how Miami is related to your art? Did your
Well,
art change since you are here, and how are the changes?
absolutely. And I think Miami is quite a special city. I mean, in the last, I mean, since I've been here, I've seen it grow by leaps and bounds. And it's also has a very particular and peculiar uh, position, I mean, geographically, where it had, I mean, it's like the center, I mean, the peninsula, the Florida peninsula, I mean, protrudes in the Caribbean, and literally Miami is at the end of that. So it's almost in the center of this whole Caribbean Sea. And yes, it has things for you know, like, I mean, the United States, but it also has a lot to do with the Caribbean, South America, and even, you know, like, I mean, these days it's becoming a very much sought after destinations for the planet. You understand? So a lot of people, I meet people in the streets and they're not from here. I mean, they come from everywhere. So the city has gained, and I think the fact that there are artists here, and I mean, the city elders have also, you know, like made sure that investments were done with museums, with institutions, with supporting those to create, you know, like something else than just a beach and hotels. That it makes that it has created quite a. I mean, the city has become. I mean, in its own, has grown to its own thing, and now I've been. I mean, I really would like to see. I mean, what's these last 30 years? If there is an aesthetic that could be called you know, like a Miami aesthetic, or a Miami kind of interest, because we are not, you know, like part of the South of the United States. We are don't. I mean, yes, we have maybe a little bit of that history, but this city is not like. I mean, when you leave Miami, you are in another world. I mean, it's sort of, I don't know if we should call it, you know, like North Caribbean, or what we should call Miami, because I mean, it has quite a particular it's quite a particular space with uh, people from the whole of the Caribbean, people from South America, and now people from Europe, and I'm sure one day we'll start having people from Africa moving here, because it's a very open city. It's a city that has, you know, like, I mean, that is forging its the vision of itself, and I don't think it has, you know, like, established it yet. But I think artists are very welcome here, and very much their presence here are very sought after, and has created quite a vibrant place for the arts, you know, like, generally, and it's starting to get envied by a lot of other cities in this country.
Do you think there is a Miami movement in the arts, or
Yes,
how
there
you
is.
see the art scene here from your point of view? There is an art scene. How you see it?
Well, there is an art scene, but it has to be, you know, I mean, I'm not really an art historian, even though I could, I mean, I urge, it's very unfortunate that the universities here are taking their time to really, I mean, look at the city as a major production, artistic production spot in the configuration of the United States. It's a big country, yes, but I think the academia, I mean, there are efforts being made, but I think it should be more systematic right now, because I mean, 30, 40 years, 50 years have passed, and a lot has happened here, and it's still happening, it's still changing, and it's a very vibrant place. And it has, since I mean, when I first came, I mean, and to today, it's like completely, I mean, has evolved into so many things, and so interestingly. And I urge, you know, like, I mean, academics to look at it, you know, because I mean, it will be much, if they do it as it's growing, I mean, they'll be able to document it properly. But if it's not, you know, I mean, like, they'll have a hard time trying to revisit or to construct the history of this place. So I urge, like, I mean, academics, and believe it or not, the ones that are really doing it systematically are the artists themselves, because they realize what a special situation they are in. And they've tried to, like to really give a lot, like back by either making collectives, having exhibits, and making catalogs and books and other things. And I think it's. I mean, it will happen. It has started to happen, and especially with this pandemic, I think everybody's calmed down. Like they're starting. I mean, they have to look at what like themselves. So I think the institutions are starting to look very seriously as to what's happening here, because I mean, travel is difficult. I mean, like expenses. Like people have to be very careful, like how much money they spend, stuff like that. Um, so we're not getting all these exhibits that used to be happening, like I mean, like as a wheel going, like too fast. So now, like hopefully the institutions will be able to have time to look at what's happening here and to give it the time of the day. And I hope that this will happen sooner than later.
Edouard, I am also an art instructor, and this is a question that my students will ask you. And with this, we close, and
Right.
maybe you add something later. What would you advise to somebody that wants to start an art career, wants to be professional, established, successful? What would you advise to somebody?
That they're really committed to it, and that they never. I mean, we can. There is a lot of research. I mean, you don't want to be copying anything. I mean, you want to be like your own. So, I mean, either you have it in you. If you don't have it in you, there is enough information around, and plus there is a world to study. So, like I mean, they have to choose carefully what field they want to be in, and to see what has happened and see where they're going to make breakthroughs in their work. And they'll have to, I mean, be very committed. It's a challenging world. It is, but it is a fascinating one. And no matter how, I mean, whether they become rich or not, I mean, that's great if they do. If they don't, like they'll have the satisfaction of having done something that really, I mean, you cannot stop doing it. I mean, I've started, as I told you, I've not been able to stop. And by now, I don't think I would know what to do with my life other than what I'm doing. So choose carefully, but it's fascinating.
Edouard, there is something that you would like to add, something that I didn't ask you and you would like to say?
I think I've covered a lot of grounds today, I don't know if to aggress anybody else, because even though I'm very polite and smiling all the time, what I'm saying sometimes just rub some people the wrong way. And no, I think I've said plenty. I mean, and I hope that people really think about it, especially like this city. I mean, it's the position of it, and I mean, I really give kudos to the politician and also the I mean, people like at the cultural affairs and stuff like that. It's a very fascinating. I mean, they really have pushed to make sure that artists are welcome here, and they support the arts in whatever ways they can. But it's been systematic and consistent, and that like people don't realize how much how lucky we are to have these kind of situations here. I mean, the situation that we are in here. All right.
Okay, let me see if somebody have questions in the chat. There is a chat here of people that join us.
I thought I was just speaking to you.
Just I want to see if they have questions. I read it to you, and if not, we can just leave it here.
All right.
Okay. No, there is no questions. Everybody like the conversation.
All right.
Edouard, thank you so much to join me.
And good luck to you, and continue doing these things, because that's part of the documentation I was talking about. So put it somewhere.
Yes. This conversation is gonna be in my page in Instagram, and everybody can can see it again. And I'm
Well,
gonna
let me
send it
know
to
and
you,
I'll
and
put it
you
on
have
my
it too.
website. All right.
Okay, and
Pleasure.
my friends from the other artists here from Landroma Art Space, where is my studio, they asking me to invite you to come. I think you came here.
I
You
should
came
come.
here in
I
a
should
couple of
come.
openings.
I will come.
Okay.
I will come. Do call me. And I listen. It's like literally not even 100 steps for me to get there. So I should come and visit you, all of you guys. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Edouard.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
You too. Bye bye.